Let's see what's cooking. Let's get the facts. Let's see what's cooking. It's time for Yo-Yo Max 12.
Here we go, super easy sugar cookie cutouts. These are from Martha Stewart's cookie book. There they are. These are one of the most simple cookies you can make, and they're a base cookie that you can add things to as well if you want. I'm making a half recipe on video. The full recipe will be in the description box, and I'll tell you about the full recipe. 4 cups of all-purpose flour, a teaspoon of baking powder, half a teaspoon of salt. Stir the dry ingredients together and set them aside. Then in a large bowl, place 1 cup of butter that's been softened, which means it's been brought to room temperature, 2 cups of sugar, and then cream those two together. Creaming means to simply blend. I'm using an electric mixer here until it's light and fluffy and that all the sugar is incorporated into the butter. Then add 2 eggs and 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. This recipe is easily halved. As you can see, I only put 1 egg and 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Then blend that together until it's nice and creamy. The color will change. It'll get lighter and fluffy. And then you're going to add the dry ingredients to the wet ingredients a little at a time, blending until you get a nice smooth dough and that you can't see any more flour bits. You can do this with an electric mixer easily or by hand for that matter. And once your dough is all blended, I'm just going to bring it all together into a ball using a rubber spatula, scraping up the sides. Now, if this was a full recipe, I would divide this dough ball in half and place half of each of the dough balls wrapped in plastic, or in this case, a Ziploc bag. Then flatten the dough out to a disc and place it in the refrigerator. By putting it into a disc shape, it actually will cool faster. That's the only reason for that. And chill it until firm, about an hour or even overnight if you'd like. And then remove it from the plastic wrap or the Ziploc bag. And if it's too firm and it's too fragile, just let it sit at room temperature for a few minutes until it starts to be able to be a little bit softer. Now, to make sugar cookie cutouts, you're going to need to roll it out. You can do this by just sprinkling it with flour and rolling it with a rolling pin. But I find the best way to do this is using parchment paper or wax paper and just putting the dough in between 2 pieces. And then simply rolling it out. It'll keep your rolling pin from sticking to the dough. And roll it out until about 1/4 inch thickness. Then using cookie cutters, cut out your shapes. Once your shapes are cut out, you're going to lift them off of the parchment paper or your countertop using a spatula and simply place them on your cookie sheet. My cookie sheet is actually a Wilton brand and it's insulated. It means that there's actually 2 layers of metal with an airspace in the center. And this is the best cookie sheet I've ever used. If you can find an insulated cookie sheet, then I would suggest that you buy them. If you're just starting out and you're looking to invest in some cookie sheets. The recipe states to put the cutout cookies onto a parchment paper lined cookie sheet. I'm using a silicone mat. This is another baking tool that I use all the time, are my silicone mats. They were actually a gift from a friend, and they are fantastic. If you're looking for a great Christmas present for someone who loves to bake, brand new insulated cookie sheet and some silicone mats would certainly be appreciated. I know I would love it. Then Martha Stewart asks in her book that you take these cutouts and you put them in the refrigerator for about 15 minutes or so until the dough firms up a bit. If you have a super hot kitchen, maybe you'd want to do this, but I don't think it's strictly necessary. Cooling the dough before putting it in the oven has a tendency to help keep the cookies from spreading, but I find that these cookies don't spread very much. Then if you want to decorate those cookies with some colored sugar, put that on top of the cookies before you put them in the oven. And that way the sugar will melt a bit and stick to the cookies. And then bake them at 350 degrees for 10 to 15 minutes till the edges are light brown, like you can see here. And that'll vary depending on what kind of cookie sheet you have and how hot your oven is. So I would recommend to set your oven timer to the lower end of that and just take a look at them to see how they're doing. Now to decorate, I'm using some cookie icing, this commercially prepared cookie icing. This is basically royal icing, which is the same icing that I used on the melted snowman cookies from yesterday's video. You can use the royal icing for cookies. You just have to tint it different colors with some food coloring. And what's great about this icing, is that when it dries hard and shiny, and then you're able to stack the cookies, and the cookies won't stick together. And of course, how you decorate your cookies is completely up to you. These also freeze very well, and this is what I'm going to do with these particular ones. There we go. I just did a few of all different types just to give you an idea what they look like. Give them a try.